They say love is supposed to feel safe. But what if the person who makes you feel safe is the one hiding the biggest secret of your life? I still remember the first time I saw her. It was one of those charity auctions in downtown Seattle, the kind of place you go to shake hands, not find destiny. But there she was. Aria Bennett. She stood near the art display, a glass of wine in her hand, smiling like she'd been painted into the room. Everything about her felt effortless, the way she listened, the way her eyes met yours, like you were the only person that mattered. I told myself it was just attraction, but deep down, I knew something had shifted. I'm Nathan Cole, an architect who spent more nights with blueprints than people. My life was quiet, predictable, until she walked in and changed its entire design. That night, we talked for hours. Not the small talk people fake at events, but the kind that feels real, like two souls finally catching up. She told me she'd just moved to Seattle to start fresh. I didn't ask what she was running from. I just admired her honesty, at least. What I thought was honesty. There was something graceful about her, confident, but guarded. Like she wanted to be known, but only up to a certain point. And I didn't care. I told myself everyone deserves a clean slate. Little did I know. Some people don't start fresh, they start over. We started seeing each other often. Coffee dates that turned into long drives. Sunday mornings that felt too perfect to be real. I remember one weekend, we just drove aimlessly until the city disappeared behind us. She sat in the passenger seat, hair blowing in the wind, laughing like she hadn't laughed in years. She looked free, and I believed I was the reason. One night, under the city lights, she looked at me and said quietly, "I just want to forget my past and build something real." Those words hit me deep. Maybe because I felt the same way. I'd made mistakes too. I wanted to believe we were two broken pieces finding a fit. From that moment, I didn't just fall for Aria. I trusted her completely. My sister, Emma, met her soon after. They clicked instantly. Emma called me later that night and said, "Nathan, she's the one. Don't let this go." And I promised IWOULDN, single quotes D. Everything felt right. The kind of right that doesn't make you question anything. The kind of right that hides all the wrongs underneath. Looking back now, I can see it. The small things that didn't fit. How she changed the subject whenever her family came up. How she always seemed to know too many people in places she'd never been. How she avoided cameras, saying she hated pictures. At the time, I thought those were quirks. Just parts of who she was. But the truth is, they were cracks. Cracks I ignored because love makes you paint over everything that looks broken. If I could go back, I'd tell that version of me, the one holding her hand under those lights, to slow down, to ask more questions, to listen to the silences between her words. But love doesn't give you warnings. It gives you hope. And hope blinds you faster than anything else. She said she wanted to forget her past. I didn't realize I was about to live it. If love is blind, then I was already walking straight into the fire. They say when you find the one, you just know. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes what you know can be the very thing that blinds you. I'd been dating Aria for almost a year when I decided to propose. It wasn't a calculated decision, it just felt right. Every moment with her had this glow, like life had finally started making sense. So one weekend, I took her on a getaway. A small cabin by the lake, fairy lights strung across the deck, soft music playing. I remember my hands shaking as I reached for the ring. She turned around, eyes wide, as I dropped to one knee and asked, "Aria Bennett, will you marry me?" For a moment, time stopped. Then she burst into tears, nodding over and over, whispering through her laughter, "You make me feel safe, Nathan. I've never felt this way before." Safe, that word would echo in my mind later, over and over, like a warning I hadn't heard in time. The following week, I couldn't stop smiling. My best friend Liam Parker was the first to hear the news. We'd been friends since college. He's a detective now, the kind of guy who sees lies for a living. When I showed him a picture of Aria, his smile faded for a split second. He stared at it a little too long before saying, "She's beautiful, man. Congrats." But something in his tone made me pause. Later that night, he called me back. "Nate, this is gonna sound weird, but I think I've seen her before. I just can't place where." I laughed it off, teasing him. "You probably saw her in your dreams, buddy." We both chuckled, but deep down, a small flicker of unease started forming. Still, I brushed it aside. Why dig for problems when life finally feels perfect? As the wedding plans began, the cracks started showing, small, quiet ones at first. Aria avoided talking about her family. Every time I asked, she'd smile and say, "It's complicated." When I suggested meeting her parents before the wedding, she hesitated. "They're not really around," she said softly, looking away. She didn't have old friends from college or hometown connections. Said she moved a lot. Her social media was spotless, almost too spotless. No tags, no past photos, nothing before 2 years ago. But love. Love makes you fill in the blanks with faith. And I did. Then one morning, something arrived at my doorstep, a plain white envelope with my name written in careful handwriting. No return address. No message. Inside was a single photograph. It was Aria, smiling, holding hands with another man. The date on the back said it was taken 3 years ago. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. I stared at it, waiting for some rational explanation to appear out of thin air. But all I could see was her, the same eyes, the same smile, looking at someone else the way she looked at me. That evening, I showed her the photo. My hands were trembling, my voice unsure. "Aria? Who is this?" She looked at it once. Then she laughed, a calm, practiced laugh. Double quotes. "Oh God, I can't believe this is still going around. That's my ex. He's obsessed with ruining my life. I should have warned you he might try something." Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't flinch. She even reached out and took my hand. "Please don't let him win, Nathan. Don't let him destroy what we have." And just like that, my doubts melted. Because when you love someone, you don't look for lies, you look for reasons to trust them. That night I threw the photo away. We had dinner. We laughed. She laid her head on my shoulder and whispered, "Promise me you'll never stop believing in us." I said I wouldn't. I wish I hadn't. She looked me in the eye and promised there was nothing to hide. I wanted to believe her, so I did. But sometimes love isn't blind. It's just pretending not to see. Sometimes silence before a storm feels peaceful, until you realize it's just the sound of truth holding its breath. It was the week before our wedding. To the world, we were the perfect couple, laughing in pictures, finalizing decorations, pretending everything was perfect. But inside, something felt off. Aria was quieter than usual. She smiled when people were around, but the moment we were alone, I could feel her slipping away, like she was carrying a weight she didn't want me to see. When I asked if everything was okay, she brushed it off. "Just wedding nerves," she said, forcing a laugh. And I believed her. Because that's what love does. It replaces your instincts with excuses. The days leading up to the wedding were a blur of fittings, phone calls, and endless checklists. But Aria, she seemed lost in her own head. I'd catch her staring out the window late at night, scrolling through her phone, deleting messages I wasn't supposed to see. When I asked, she said, "Just work stuff. You don't need to worry." And I didn't push it. I didn't want to start our marriage with suspicion. But something inside me, a quiet voice, kept whispering that something wasn't right. Then came the rehearsal dinner. Our closest friends, family, laughter, music, everything that should have felt like a dream. Until I noticed a man at the back of the room. He was standing alone, hands in his pockets, eyes fixed on Arya. She froze when she saw him. Just for a second, but it was enough. Her face went pale, her smile vanished. Then she excused herself and disappeared into the hallway. I followed a minute later, but she was gone. When she finally returned, her makeup was perfect again, her smile back in place. But I could feel the tension radiating off her like static. Later that night, after everyone left, I found something strange. I was taking off my jacket when I felt something crumpled inside the pocket, a folded piece of paper. No name. No handwriting I recognized. I opened it slowly, my heart pounding for reasons I didn't understand. It said only one thing. Ask her about Carter. Don't let her become your next mistake. That was it. No explanation. No signature. Just a name, Carter, and a warning that felt more like a threat. My stomach dropped. Who was Carter? What did he mean by your next mistake? I stared at the note for what felt like hours, my thoughts spinning out of control. Was it a prank? A jealous ex? Or something much worse? I wanted to confront her right then, demand the truth. But when I walked into the room, she was laughing with my sister, glowing, radiant, the woman I loved, and suddenly, I couldn't do it, because if she lied, everything we had would fall apart. And if she told the truth, I wasn't sure I could handle it. That night I lay awake next to her, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment we'd shared. Every laugh, every promise, every word she ever said. And for the first time, I realized I didn't know who I was marrying. But love, or maybe fear, made me bury the thought. I told myself it was nothing. A misunderstanding. Maybe someone from her past trying to stir trouble. Because sometimes, it's easier to protect a lie than face a truth that might destroy you. The truth was right there, whispering in my ear. I just wasn't ready to listen. And by the time I did, it was already too late. Some days change your life forever. Others destroy the life you thought you had. My wedding day did both. The morning of our wedding was perfect. The sun broke through the Seattle clouds. The air smelled like rain and roses, and everyone was smiling. My mother cried when she saw me in my suit. My sister said she'd never seen me this happy, but inside, something didn't feel right. Arya was quiet all morning. She moved through the preparations like a ghost, smiling when people looked, but her eyes were somewhere else. When I asked if she was okay, she whispered, "Just nervous. I can't believe today's finally here." Her hands were cold. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I told myself it was just the stress, that every bride feels this way. But deep down, something told me this wasn't nerves. It was fear. As guests started arriving, everything looked like a movie. Soft music, white flowers, laughter echoing through the garden. For a moment, I almost forgot that tiny whisper inside me saying, "Something's wrong." Then just minutes before the ceremony, I saw him, the same man from the rehearsal dinner, the stranger who'd slipped that note into my jacket. He was standing by the gate, watching me with the same cold, steady eyes. I felt my stomach tighten. I didn't want to deal with this now, not today. But he walked straight toward me before I could stop him. "Nathan Cole?" he asked quietly. I nodded, unsure whether to be angry or afraid. He reached into his jacket and handed me a brown envelope. "You deserve to know who you're marrying," he said. Then he turned and walked away before I could say a word. I shouldn't have opened it. But curiosity, it's stronger than reason, especially when your heart already suspects the truth. Inside were several documents, photocopies, reports, a marriage certificate. At the top it said, name, Clara Hudson. Spouse, Carter Hudson. And next to Carter's name, the word missing. My knees nearly gave out. My vision blurred. The sounds of laughter and music around me started fading into nothing. Clara Hudson. Not Arya Bennett. She'd been married before. Her husband had vanished 2 years ago. Suddenly, every smile, every hesitation, every complicated past flashed before my eyes, all of it rearranging itself into a picture I didn't want to see. I looked up, and there she was, standing at the end of the aisle, radiant in her white dress, laughing with Emma, the woman I thought I knew, the woman I was about to marry. But all I could think was, who are you really? My mind raced. I could confront her right now, end this quietly before the ceremony. But something inside me, pride, pain, maybe even justice, told me the truth needed to come out in the open. Everyone deserved to know. So I made a choice. I walked down that aisle with a calm face and a storm raging inside me. The music played, guests stood, and Aria, or Clara, smiled like nothing had happened. I held her hands, but they felt foreign now. The priest began speaking. His words blurred together. And then, the moment came. If anyone objects to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace. Silence, and then a voice cut through the room, firm, unshaking, familiar. I object. Every head turned. Gasps filled the air. It was the stranger. Standing tall, envelope in hand. Aria froze. I saw her face drain of color, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. That's when everything stopped. The music, the smiles, the future we'd planned. That's when forever ended. Sometimes the truth doesn't break quietly. It crashes through everything you thought was real. And when it did, my entire world came undone. The room fell silent. Every smile, every bit of laughter, gone. All eyes turned to the man standing at the back of the hall. The same stranger who had followed us, watched us, warned me. He took a slow step forward, voice calm but sharp enough to cut through the music. "This wedding can't happen," he said, "because the woman you're marrying isn't who she says she is." Gasps filled the air. Aria's face went pale. The color drained from her lips as if her secret had been waiting for this very moment to escape. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. "Who even are you?" The man looked straight at her. "You know exactly who I am. Clara." That name, Clara, echoed across the room like thunder. My chest tightened. "Clara, not Aria." He continued, his voice trembling with anger. "I'm Carter Hudson's brother. The man you were married to. The man who vanished 2 years ago, after you took everything and ran." The crowd froze. My vision blurred. It was as if the air had been sucked out of the room. Cameras stopped clicking. Guests whispered. I could hear my mother gasp somewhere behind me. Aria, or Clara, turned toward me, eyes wide, desperate. "Nathan, please. Listen to me. He's lying. I left because my ex was dangerous. I had to change my name to survive." Her voice cracked, and tears rolled down her cheeks. Every instinct in me screamed to believe her, the woman I'd held, loved, trusted. But the stranger reached into his coat and pulled out a folder. "Dangerous?" he said bitterly. "You drained his savings, forged his signature, and disappeared. We found your accounts, your fake ID, your new name. You built a new life on stolen money." He tossed the documents onto the table near the altar. Papers scattered across the floor, bank transfers, photographs, records. And in that moment, the truth hit me harder than anything ever had. It wasn't pain I felt. It was the sound of everything I believed collapsing. I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't recognize the woman standing in front of me. Aria, or Clara, dropped to her knees, shaking her head. "Nathan, you have to believe me." I was scared. I had no choice. But her words didn't sound like truth. They sounded like every excuse she'd rehearsed before walking down that aisle. The stranger's voice broke through again. "You didn't just run. Clara, you made sure everyone thought Carter was the villain. You erased him. And now you were about to do the same to this man." All eyes turned to me. I could feel the weight of their pity, their shock. The man who loved a lie. Arya looked around the room, faces filled with judgment, whispers spreading like wildfire. She stood up suddenly, her voice trembling. You don't understand. None of you do. And before anyone could stop her, she turned and ran, through the aisle, past the guests, out the door. Her veil tore as it caught on a chair, fluttering to the ground like the last piece of the illusion she built. The doors slammed behind her. And just like that, she was gone. I stood there frozen, surrounded by silence. I didn't chase her. I couldn't. The truth had done what I couldn't. It ended everything. I looked at the papers scattered at my feet, her fake name, her old life, her lies, and it hit me. The woman I had loved, fought for, planned a future with, never really existed. The woman I loved didn't just lie to me. She never existed. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't losing her. I was finally seeing her for the first time. The day she ran wasn't just the end of our wedding. It was the end of the man I used to be. After that day, my name became a story people whispered about. I wasn't Nathan Cole, the architect, anymore. I was the groom whose bride vanished. Everywhere I went, coffee shops, the office, even the grocery store, people looked at me with that same mixture of pity and curiosity. Some said, "You didn't deserve that." Others just wanted to know the details. And every time I heard the word wedding, something inside me broke a little more. Work became impossible. I'd stare at designs on my computer, but all I could see was her face, smiling, lying, pretending. My team tried to help, but you can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake replaying every conversation, wondering how I missed the signs. The laughter, the promises, the way she said, "You make me feel safe." I started realizing she didn't feel safe with me. She felt safe from me. Because I didn't know who she really was, days turned into weeks. My phone stopped ringing. Friends stopped calling. The world moved on, but I stayed trapped in that moment at the altar, watching her run away. Then one afternoon, Liam showed up at my apartment. He didn't knock gently. He barged in like the best friend who's tired of watching someone drown quietly. He looked around at the empty takeout boxes and unopened mail. "You look terrible." "Man," he said. I didn't argue. He sat down, and after a long silence, he slid a folder across the table. "I found her," he said. At first, I didn't believe him. But then I opened the folder and saw her picture, Arya, or Clara, or whatever name she was using now. The photo was from a public event, a charity fundraiser in California. She was smiling again. Same charm, same grace. But now she went by a new name, Alina Harper. She'd done it again, built another identity, started another life. I stared at the picture for a long time. My hands were shaking, but it wasn't sadness this time. It was something colder, something sharper. Liam sighed. "You can't chase her, Nathan. You have to let it go." I nodded. But deep down, I knew I couldn't, because this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about every person she fooled, every life she rebuilt out of lies. She didn't just break my heart, she built her freedom on it. That night, I stood by the window, watching the city lights blur into the distance. And I realized something important. Love made me blind, I whispered to myself. But betrayal gave me vision. I thought about all the nights she looked me in the eye and swore she loved me. I thought about the people still out there, the ones she'd fool next. And in that moment, the fog started to lift. For the first time in months, I felt clear. This wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. She had built her life on lies. So I would build mine on exposing them. I wouldn't destroy her. I'd reveal her. And when the truth came out, it would speak louder than anything she could ever fake again. If she could start over by lying, then I'd start over by telling the truth. This time, I wouldn't fall in love. I'd rise in truth, no matter what it cost. Revenge isn't about rage. It's about clarity. And for the first time since she left, I finally saw everything clearly. Months passed since the wedding that never happened. But instead of healing, something inside me hardened, not out of hate, but from the need for truth. Aria, or Clara, or now Elena Harper, was living freely again. New name, new city, same lies, while I was piecing together my broken life. She was hosting charity galas and giving interviews about helping widows rebuild their lives. The irony burned deeper than any wound. So I started digging. At first, it was small things, public records, donation lists, fake charity websites. Every trail led to another name, another man. She wasn't just a liar, she was a pattern. Each time she vanished, she left behind someone broken, emotionally, financially, or both. I tracked down one of them, a man named Eli Martinez, a tech consultant from Denver who'd lost his entire savings to her investment project. When I first called him, he didn't believe me. But once I said her name, there was a long silence on the line, followed by a bitter laugh. "You too, huh?" he said. We met a week later at a small diner off the highway. He looked tired, the kind of tired that comes from betrayal. I showed him her latest alias, and he shook his head in disbelief. "She's good," he muttered. I thought I'd never see her again. That's when I told him my plan, not revenge, not destruction, just exposure. To show the world the real woman behind the lies. And to my surprise, he agreed instantly. "Count me in," he said. "Let's end her game." Ayla had the technical skills I didn't. Within weeks, we traced her digital footprints, dozens of fake accounts, charity fronts, and donation transfers. Everything led back to one main operation, her so-called Hearts for Widows Foundation. A fake charity. A perfect disguise. She used compassion as camouflage, and I was about to strip it away. We gathered proof, transactions, emails, and testimonials from the people she'd hurt. Each new discovery didn't make me angrier. It made me calmer. Because now I finally had control. The truth was becoming my weapon. Then, one day, we found our opening. She was planning another gala, a big event in Los Angeles, filled with wealthy donors, press, and cameras. It was her stage, and it was going to be her downfall. Eli and I spent weeks preparing. He created a live feed that could project the evidence onto the event's big screen. All I had to do was trigger it. The night before the event, I couldn't sleep. I stood by the window, city lights flickering below me, and whispered to myself, "This isn't about hurting her. It's about ending the story she's been writing with other people's lives." The next evening, I walked into that ballroom wearing the same calm I once wore on my wedding day. Only this time I wasn't the fool. Aria, or Elena, was radiant, dressed in white again, giving her speech about hope and healing. People applauded. Cameras flashed. She talked about helping the broken rebuild. And I almost laughed because I was one of them. As she smiled for the audience. I stepped toward the control booth and nodded to Eli. Within seconds, the screens behind her flickered, photos, documents, emails, her entire web of lies spilling out in front of everyone. The room went silent. Aria froze. Her carefully built world unraveled in real time. No shouting, no drama, just the quiet, heavy sound of truth doing its job. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was chasing truth. And for the first time, I was catching up. They say revenge feels sweet, but I learned that the real peace comes when you stop needing it. The night of the gala arrived. Los Angeles glowed with lights, music, and laughter, everything she loved. It was her world, beautiful, polished, built entirely on lies. I watched her from a distance as she greeted guests, the charming Elena Harper, founder of Hearts for Widows Foundation. She looked untouchable again, just like she did the first time I met her. Only this time, I wasn't the same man. I wasn't the groom she fooled. I wasn't the broken soul she left behind. I was the truth she'd been running from. I walked into the ballroom slowly, calm and collected. Eli was already in position, the camera rolling discreetly, recording every move. The screens behind the stage were ready, waiting for one command to reveal everything. When she spotted me, her face froze for half a second. Then, just like before, she recovered, a smile curling back onto her lips like a mask she'd worn 1,000 times. "Nathan," she said softly, walking toward me. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again." Her voice was sweet, practiced. The kind that could melt suspicion if you didn't already know better. I smiled faintly. "You almost didn't." She glanced around, lowering her tone. "Listen, I know how it looks, but I had no choice back then. You don't understand what I went through." Her eyes glistened, the same tears that once fooled me into believing every word. "But not tonight." I let her speak, because lies sound louder when they echo against silence. "I had to start over, Nathan. I was hurt, scared." I stopped her. "You were never scared. You were smart. Too smart. You built your life out of sympathy and stories. And for a while, I was one of them." Her smile faltered. "You don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone and pressed play. Her voice filled the room, recordings of her private calls. Her confessions, the trail of deceit Eli and I uncovered. Every guest turned, every camera focused on her dot behind her. The big screen came alive. Documents, photos, messages, transactions. Proof of every lie she told. The room went silent. You could hear the whispers start, one, then another, spreading like fire through the crowd. Aria, or Clara, or Elena, looked around, eyes wide. "Nathan, please, don't do this." But it was already done. She tried to speak, but her words stumbled over themselves. The powerful, confident woman they admired was gone, replaced by someone exposed, cornered, and finally seen for who she really was. I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I just looked at her and said quietly, "The truth always catches up. You taught me that." Security stepped in. Reporters swarmed. The world she'd built started collapsing in real time. I turned and walked away. No applause. No satisfaction. Just silence, the kind that comes after a storm finally ends. Outside, the city lights shimmered across the skyline. Cars passed. Music played faintly from the ballroom behind me. I stood there, breathing for the first time in what felt like years. For so long, I thought revenge would fix me, that seeing her exposed would fill the hole she left. But standing there, I realized something different. The truth didn't give me victory. It gave me freedom. She taught me the price of blind love. But truth taught me something better, that peace isn't revenge. It's letting go. I didn't walk away because I won. I walked away because I finally stopped fighting what was already over. As I walked down the quiet street, the city lights flickered above me, like tiny reminders that even after darkness, there's always light again. Sometimes the hardest battles aren't the ones we fight with others. They're the ones we fight inside ourselves, between letting go and getting even. If this story made you feel something, if it reminded you that truth always finds its way out, then make sure to hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories of love, betrayal, and redemption. Because here, every secret has a story. And every story finds its truth. This was Nathan's story. What would you do if the person you loved turned out to be a lie?